Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Affordable Housing Strategy Implementation Committee for Tuesday, December the 2nd. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I need a motion at this time for adoption of the agenda. There's a, Mike Clare, and all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Thank you very much. And disclosures of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof. Does anybody feel pecuniary interested? Come on, people. That was the best material I have. All right. Only a small smile. All right. That's fine. Seeing none. Adoption of the previous minutes from Affordable Housing Strategy Implementation Committee on September the 23rd, 2025. I need a mover for that. Okay, Kathleen.
Chair,
thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question here?
Absolutely.
I read the minutes, and last time when we had our meeting, you were not the chair. Regional Councillor DePaula was the chair, and a couple of times I brought up the issue of these lots that they used to have. I think power. I don't know what they were, but anyway, I talked about these 3 lots that I had discovered with a couple of other people, and the chair at that time asked staff to see if there were other lots like these. I think they were where the old pumping stations were, and I really wanted to know whether that had been done. And so I read the minutes, and I didn't see that was recorded in the minutes.
Okay, that's certainly a good question. I have to defer to the clerk. Yeah, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you. Through the chair, we can certainly amend the minutes. So you can still move something that the minutes be adopted as amended, and we can certainly add that into the appropriate section of the minutes. Alternatively, we can, I guess ultimately you can defer to the next meeting and we can bring forward a different set of minutes, which would include what the committee member is referring to.
Okay.
Yeah, you can adopt them as amended, or we can.
Okay. So Kathleen, I'll leave it up to you since you're the one to put your hand up first and move it. I guess the choices that I would recommend are either adopt the minutes with the amendment that we're going to include that discussion in the amended minutes, or if you feel that more is needed, then we could potentially defer the approval of these minutes to give us some time to capture that to your satisfaction in the minutes, and we would bring that forward at the next meeting, which would be a bit of time from now. I think from the perspective of the minutes, the issue that we're dealing with right now is just the accuracy of the minutes. So you brought up a good point, and I think we probably could capture that by just getting the clerk to amend the minutes to capture that discussion. Okay.
Okay. A question I have, I'm looking forward to Ashley's presentation, and I'm really wondering if that was incorporated. That the fact that there are some areas in Richmond Hill that could possibly be a location for affordable housing, and do we have all of that information? That's what I'm concerned about.
Okay, that's fair. So why don't, if it's okay with you and with the rest of the committee, why don't we move the minutes to be amended to reflect that discussion, and then during the discussion with Ashley, why don't you ask some of those questions? And Ashley is nodding her head, so I think she'll be able to discuss the outcome of that question. If that works for you?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I have one more person on my speakers list. Regional Local Councillor DePaulo, you want to add something?
Oh, well, I would be happy to formally move an amendment if needed, that the question was asked regarding lands such as former pumping stations, whether or not they would be suitable for affordable housing projects. And yes, it's correct. As chair, I said that that our staff was doing a more fulsome study of available sites, and that I didn't think the pumping station sites were large enough, but we could get more information about that. And I think if that's in the minutes, it'd probably be enough of a direction that
Yep.
that our staff could act on that. So that's a long-winded amendment, but if you got that, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Clerk will be able to put that in a much more poetic and lyrical way. So why don't we count on him to do that, and we'll move that, and then we'll have the discussion that comes out of that during the presentation that we're about to hear. Okay, so we have a motion then to move the minutes as amended by Kathleen. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay. All right. So, all right, we have our scheduled business today, and we have a presentation by Ashley Dickinson, Affordable Housing Project Manager. This is a bit of a longer presentation, so I will turn it over to Ashley for the presentation, and then we'll have a discussion, of course, as a committee after that is concluded. So Ashley, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining me today for our Affordable Housing Initiatives update. Next slide, please. Here's an overview of my presentation. I'll speak briefly about two good news stories related to our CIP for affordable housing and sustainable design and the Affordable Housing Concierge Pilot Program, followed by the annual update on our Affordable Housing Strategy Action Plan. Next slide, please. First, I'll provide a very brief update to work on the city's CIP for affordable housing and sustainable design. Next slide, please. I'm thrilled to say that Richmond Hill Council just last week approved the city's first ever funding recipients for our CIP for affordable housing and sustainable design. Funding recommendations were approved to award the top 3 scoring applicants per affordable unit grant awards that totaled $12 million of existing Housing Accelerator Fund or HAF funds, with up to an additional $7.8 million, subject to the city receiving the third draw of HAF funding. These projects were also awarded proportional tax increment equivalent grant rebates for property tax increases associated with the new developments. Given the funding source for this CIP intake is HAF money, which needs to be spent very quickly in terms of development timelines, evaluation of the eligible applications prioritized those projects that were immediately feasible and shovel-ready. The 3 funded projects have targeted building permit issuance by November 2026 and will result in a combined total of over 1,000 purpose-built rental units, of which up to 20% or more will be affordable, with varying degrees of affordability. All affordable units are committed to for a minimum of 25 years. Now that the recommendations are approved, staff are working on the necessary legal agreements to confirm the terms and conditions of the funding. Next slide, please. Fortunately, as the city received applications for 6 eligible projects, requesting nearly double our total funding budget, we were unable to fund all eligible applicants. We have engaged with these applicants to ensure they know that the city values their efforts to deliver affordable housing in our city and to offer assistance to their projects ongoing through the Affordable Housing Concierge Pilot Program. Next slide, please. And now I'll speak a little bit about our Affordable Housing Concierge Pilot Program. Next slide, please. As you'll recall, staff have been working on implementing the Affordable Housing Concierge Pilot Program, the design for which I presented to you in April of this year. The pilot program is comprised of a general affordable housing support available to everyone and an affordable housing concierge service available to select clients who meet certain affordable housing criteria. The one window affordable housing support is a singular point of contact as a first step for developers looking to deliver affordable housing in Richmond Hill. Supports include a dedicated website and email, affordable housing coordination staff available to meet to discuss city processes and potential incentives and partnership opportunities, and updated online resources. In addition, the Affordable Housing Concierge Service will provide enhanced supports for select eligible clients, including prioritized development approvals processing, senior staff assignment to planning applications, support of concierge staff as an internal project liaison and advocate, and coordination support with other levels of government and funding partners. Next slide, please. I'm excited to report that this pilot program has been formally launched. In addition to completing the internal administrative tasks associated with this program, including developing governance documents and establishing measures to evaluate success and inform future recommendations as the pilot program progresses, we have officially launched this program to the public as of last week. We are now undertaking communication and promotion activities, including notification of the program via targeted emails to our local development and nonprofit contacts, as well as sector partners outlined on this slide. We've created a dedicated affordable housing concierge website and also included wording in our standard development planning templates to ensure housing development applicants are aware of the program and resources. Next slide, please. Lastly, I will walk through the annual update of our affordable housing strategy actions. Next slide, please. As you may recall, the affordable housing strategy sets out 44 action items. These items are grouped into 7 categories as noted on this slide. The actions are summarized on this slide to provide a general overview of our overall action plan progress. Completed actions are in green, actions for which work is underway are in orange, and gray actions are not yet initiated. As in previous years, you'll note that the policy and regulatory tool categories are combined. The action plan sets out separate actions related to establishing policies and then implementing those policies via regulatory tools. The combined structure on this slide acknowledges that the real work isn't done when a policy is put into place, and that to achieve the priorities of the strategy, both the combined policy and regulatory tool actions must be completed. Overall, we have completed 28 actions set out by the strategy, 10 of which were completed since we last provided an annual action plan update in December of last year. Next slide, please. First, I will review the actions we have completed since last providing an update to you in December of 2024. Next slide, please. Staff have completed 2 actions as part of the city's Housing Accelerator Fund Action Plan initiative related to surplus and underutilized city-owned lands for affordable housing. You may recall I provided an update on this project at our last meeting. We ensured our policies enable the use of affordable housing on city-owned properties and established an internal inventory of potential surplus and underutilized lands that may be suitable for affordable housing now and into the future. Next slide, please. Through the launch of our Affordable Housing Concierge Pilot Program, we have completed 3 affordable housing strategy action items as outlined on this slide. Through the creation of the Affordable Housing Concierge Program, we have established a mechanism to support nonprofit housing corporations through facilitating collaboration with both the private sector and other levels of government, and by providing dedicated staff resources to ensure relevant affordable housing information and education is shared ongoing. This program also provides for an opportunity to facilitate partnerships between property owners, both nonprofit and for-profit housing developers, and community agencies and governments. While these items are complete on the basis of establishing a program that will work to build both capacity and partnerships, activity on these actions will continue ongoing as we continue to identify and share opportunities in support of securing more affordable housing in our city. Next slide, please. The city has achieved a significant milestone in the completion of our comprehensive zoning bylaw, which was approved by Richmond Hill Council earlier this year. This zoning bylaw replaces 40 parent zoning bylaws, as well as thousands of zoning bylaw amendments. The new comprehensive zoning bylaw implements the policies of the official plan and other provincial documents with the objectives of reflecting current development practices, being fully accessible in an online, interactive, web-based format, and making the document user-friendly and easy to understand, administer, and enforce. In addition, the zoning bylaw establishes as-of-right permissions to allow up to a total of 4 independent residential units within any individual parcel of land, subject to certain criteria. Next slide, please. Lastly, in March of this past year, Council approved to defer the payment of development charges in accordance with the Region of York's Development Charge Deferral for Affordable Rental Building Policy. This regional policy provides for DC payment deferral for a duration of 5 to 20 years for eligible projects that meet the prescribed affordability requirements. This approval achieves another of the Affordable Housing Strategy's actions related to deferring fees associated with the provision of affordable housing, and provides our local development community with some of the financial certainty needed through the lifespan of a project, while also leveraging our upper tier York Region policies, expertise, and administration. Next slide, please. In addition to the recently completed actions, several action items are also underway. Next slide, please. In terms of implementation oversight, city staff continue to work alongside the Region of York to measure and monitor our housing supply and affordable housing progress. Richmond Hill is also establishing a city-specific process as part of the CIP administration now that recipients have been awarded and legal agreements are being drafted. In terms of inclusionary zoning, in late 2024, Council received an update on our initial inclusionary zoning impact assessment study in support of drafting the policy framework necessary to establish an inclusionary zoning bylaw. This update determined that inclusionary zoning is not viable in current market conditions. The updated assessment requires a third-party peer review before the city can proceed with implementation of inclusionary zoning when market conditions improve. Next slide, please. Additionally, the city will be updating the official plan definition of affordable housing as part of the 2024 Provincial Planning Statement Conformity Update in 2026. As part of our work on guidelines and standards, the recently approved comprehensive zoning bylaw provides permissions for above-grade parking structures. After the official plan is updated next year, the city will begin the work of updating the urban design guidelines that will then set out more specific standards related to above-grade parking structures with consideration for flexibility, particularly for affordable housing projects. Next slide, please. Finally, I will now go over the future action items in the strategy. Next slide, please. Future actions are grouped by category on this slide. Some items have yet to be initiated because they are dependent on the completion of other actions or work being undertaken. For example, while actions related to inclusionary zoning policy work are in progress, the inclusionary zoning policy must be established before the implementing inclusionary zoning bylaw can move forward. Hence, work on the inclusionary zoning bylaw is identified as a future action. While the city has established some financial tools to facilitate affordable housing, there are several other financial tool options identified in the strategy's action plan that may be investigated in the future when appropriate, as noted in the middle column on this slide. Lastly, there are actions in the strategy that involve coordination with York Region, who is our upper tier municipality and housing service manager, thus possess expertise and experience to lead additional activities, such as investigating alternative homeownership models like rent-to-own programs, and innovative approaches to supporting affordable housing, like land trusts. Next slide, please. This concludes my presentation today. Staff recommend that the presentation on the city's affordable housing initiatives update be received and all comments be referred back to staff. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to take questions or comments.
Okay, thank you very much, Ashley. That's great, and I appreciate the presentation. So let's have a discussion here. What I'd like to see, I see some hands going up already here. So what I'd like to see, if we could, is the motion before us is to refer all comments back to staff and receive the presentation. So whoever we get to speak first, if we can get that motion on the floor so that we have something to talk about, that would be great. So Kathleen, I think you got your hand up first. So are you willing to move the motion as well to refer all comments back to staff? Okay, so go ahead.
I move that.
Go ahead with your, with your comments and questions.
Yeah, my question is, Ashley had mentioned that inclusionary zoning will be reconsidered when the markets improve, and yet that's also a future action. So my question is, do we wait till the markets improve before we look at inclusionary zoning? And because I'm not a planner, is inclusionary zoning, does that mean zoning where there's more flexibility in allowing certain buildings to be in that area?
So I'll refer that question to Ashley. Go ahead, Ashley.
Through you, Mr. Chair, and Kathleen, thank you for the question. So the one piece in terms of what would inclusionary zoning establish is actually, it's a tool that the province has made available to municipalities that would require within certain areas a minimum amount of affordable housing units to be committed. So that's sort of, I'm also a non-planner. So that is my general overview to answer the second piece. In terms of the first part of your question, the work that went into updating that inclusionary zoning assessment determined that the market conditions were such that to bring in this policy at this point in time would mean we would have to bring it in with a 0% commitment. So the next step on that is to have a third-party consultant conduct a peer review of the assumptions and methodology that went into that assessment. And so that will be the next step that we'll be looking at taking. And then once that third-party peer review is complete, at that point in time, we can then consider bringing in the bylaw and requiring these units.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Actually, Maria, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I mean, Ashley answered the question, but just to add, under the regulation, I believe it's about a 5% commitment for affordable units. And in the study that was done, although we have a policy framework in place and ready to go, once we do the peer review, we didn't proceed with it or recommend it because the study showed that in this market, it would actually act as a deterrent to the development of units in general. So that's why we didn't take action at this time.
But it is still a future action, right?
Yes,
Is that correct?
yes, absolutely, yes.
But depending on the economy, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
So Kathleen, you're good? Okay,
Yeah.
Cheryl, I think you had your hand up next.
Good afternoon, everyone. Through you, Mr. Chair. Ashley, I have a question for you. What criteria did the top 3 funded projects meet that others did not? And will the city publish a transparent guideline for applicants that, those top 3 funded project was approved by?
Yeah, you're talking about the half funding, community improvement plan funding, right? Okay, Ashley, go ahead?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I can answer that. And thank you for the question, Cheryl. So the CIP evaluation was undertaken through like a rigorous scoring process based on evaluation criteria that was weighted. That criteria and weighting was made available to the CIP applicants through the application guide. And then subsequent to the valuation results coming forward through public staff report, which I can send to you after the meeting if it's of interest, we also then engaged with both the recommended and the not recommended applicants. And the CIP evaluation staff offered a debrief to those applicants to actually walk through the specific applications and the scoring outcomes as a result on the basis of that matrices.
Thank you. You can send me that information, Ashley. Thank you.
I will.
Okay, thank you. Mike, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Ashley. Ashley, thinking about modular housing, when the initial study of available lands for use, and you looked at some that you said were just too small, did the group surveying think of using those smaller plots for tiny homes or modular housing?
Go ahead, Ashley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So through you, Mr. Chair, thank you, Michael, for the question. I think this touches on what Kathleen was interested in as well. So this initial inventory was based on a minimum size criteria. At this point in time, the city has not undertaken steps to revisit that criteria. I think as that program evolves, that might be one of the conversations that we have. And this sort of speaks to Kathleen, who I know wants to touch on this as well. The feasibility of perhaps smaller parcels of land that might accommodate smaller size developments. I can tell you there's not an immediate work plan item that says we're going to revisit that criteria, but I think in consideration of the longevity of the program, that's going to be one of the areas that we might look to when we know we need to get creative, innovative on continuing to look at our limited lands.
A supplementary question, if I may.
Absolutely.
Looking at, well, I've got two questions on this one. Looking at the modular homes, if you do decide to go with modular homes, would we accept just a CSA approved unit rather than have to go through the whole inspection of units and making sure they meet city bylaws? Or would a CSA approved build be acceptable to the region or to the city?
Thank you for the question. Yeah. I'm afraid I don't have the answer at my fingertips on that one. I duly noted the question. I don't have an answer for you, I'm afraid.
Fair enough. I understand that. And just one last thing on the possible sites. And maybe I'm pushing this, but did you look at the use of parking lots and how can parking lots be utilized to build on? And were they included in that survey?
Thank you for the question. And for the record, I don't think that's pushing. I think that that's a fair question. So generally, parking lots were captured in terms of that sort of desktop exercise of meeting a suite of criteria on the basis of data fields. And then the additional layer of analysis that went into reviewing those sites contemplated the use. So, for example, a parking lot may have been identified that ticked all the boxes in terms of the inventory criteria. But then when we go to look at that parking lot and it's in a highly used seniors community center, then the feasibility of that parking lot being a viable immediate location for the development of housing, that's where considerations beyond the desktop exercise sort of needed to be applied. So the short answer is yes, we did consider parking lots and we will continue to do so. It's just that the parking lot on its own, in the absence of contextualizing how it's used, and does not immediately warrant itself as developable for housing.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay. Christopher, you had a question?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Chair. I just want to say congrats, Ashley. Like, I think, I don't even know, has it been a full year yet since you officially took this position? But
Year and a half, yeah.
I think that there's been a lot accomplished in a year, and to the council as a whole, changing a lot of this has been really great to see. Question specifically, Ashley, a recommendation. I know BCH just got launched like a week and a half ago. So if you haven't already, for those 3 applicants who weren't able to achieve funding, if that's been considered, and if you're able to kind of work with them on the Build Canada Homes funding as another opportunity to kind of still leverage what's left in terms of the deferrals, but also the potential funding through BCH may be an opportunity. I think, the support of the city on that would make it a much stronger application from those proponents if they're considering that as well.
Thank you for that.
Okay, thanks very much, Christopher. Cheryl, you had your hand up on round 2.
Yes, I do, Mr. Chair. Through you, Ashley. Again, well planned and executed. I like how you're executing the process. I do have 2 questions on the concierge program. The first one is, how will nonprofit supportive housing providers be prioritized within the affordable housing concierge program? Second one, what metrics will the city use to evaluate whether the concierge pilot is successful, and when will those results be published?
Go ahead, Ashley.
Thank you very much. Through the chair, thank you, Cheryl, for the questions. Okay, so piece 1, the Affordable Housing Concierge Service. So the criteria for projects to qualify for this enhanced concierge service is deliberately scoped. 1, because it's a pilot, and 2, because we're very cognizant that for something to be a priority, that needs to mean the other things are not everything can be a priority. So with respect to nonprofit and supportive housing, they automatically qualify. If you're a nonprofit housing corporation, whether it's affordable, supportive, both, you are automatically eligible for that enhanced service, right? So that includes prioritized development approval processing, as well as concierge staff on the inside trying to advocate as well as communicate with the applicant around how to navigate our processes. And then the second piece of that question is also a good one. So we have a suite of measurements. Some of them are quantitative, that are very much in the camp of how much are we doing? How much activity are we seeing? How much email traffic? How many meetings are we taking? And then the more qualitative, outcome-oriented metrics relate to how many secured affordable units are actually materializing from this program. And there is some recognition baked into those metrics around how long that takes. So it's going to be consideration of how many are just in the stream, because it may be some time before we actually have the units on the ground. And so we wanted to be able to capture how this program was supporting those units move through our process in advance of them actually materializing. And so the initial term of this pilot program is 1 year. So November of next year, we'll do the full analysis, do the metrics, and then that will inform recommendations as well as reflect on successes, opportunities for improvement, in consideration of if that program moves past a pilot phase.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Cheryl. Is there anybody else? I've got a few comments I'll make. Okay, so I'll do that now. So Ashley, could you just kind of give us an on the ground, what does it look like for us as a committee and us as a city to be able to work with Build Canada Homes? I mean, it's a relatively new initiative. I have been briefed to a good degree about what the program's all about, but I wonder if you could give us a sense of like, what does that look like in Richmond Hill going forward, and what will we expect to see on this committee in the future, given this initiative of Build Canada Homes?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the question. So that's a big one, frankly. I think what we've heard from Build Canada Homes is their focus is big scale portfolio development type projects. I understand that they just opened up their portal for submission for project proposals, and they seem to be going about this in a bit of a different way than CMHC. CMHC had prescribed really prescriptive, thorough guidelines and evaluation metrics. And so I think it remains to be seen from an administrative perspective how transparent those decision-making processes are going to be. I think that they've deliberately, initially anyway, left their programming to be quite flexible. There are not funding limitations by unit or project size. I think that there is work being done at the regional level around that idea of portfolios of projects, recognizing BC Homes has publicized an emphasis on big impact, big unit count kind of projects. Interestingly, I've worked closely with a GTA specific CMHC advisor. That doesn't exist yet for BC Homes. And we're hoping that that is, as they sort of get staffed up and rolling, we're going to see that, because certainly CMHC saw the value in having the boots on the ground in these local areas as a national agency. But frankly, we're all kind of bated breath waiting to see how this is going to roll out. We do know that this proposal, the portal is just opened. And to Chris's, thank you, Chris. I have a call after this meeting with one of our projects to try to talk about how we might best position and support an application through that proposal portal. But unfortunately, I think it is a bit early to really know and anticipate what this is going to mean for us in Richmond Hill. I'm going to remain optimistic, but I think time will tell.
Okay, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with that too. And I as much as I think, there's some unknowns that need to be clarified, and the future will do that. I have been advocating, and I frankly still will continue to advocate that in the meantime, we should be seeing the Housing Accelerator Fund extended, and municipalities like ours that were on a very, very, very tight timeline to get that Housing Accelerator Fund money out the door. An extension on that program would really help us in that regard. And I'm still going to be continuing to advocate for that program to continue while Build Canada Homes ramps up, because I think that what the Housing Accelerator Fund does is it gives us the tools that we need, that we can customize for our specific community to be able to build the homes. And the three projects that we were able to get some money out the door to incentivize are really textbook examples of the good that can be done right on the ground. And it doesn't have to be done in the exact same way as a municipality whose context is entirely different than Richmond Hill. So that's the first one. the second one, just in terms of future actions, there's two of them that I just wanted to comment on. The levy on property tax to fund affordable housing. I know this was put on the work plan quite some time ago when the landscape wasn't exactly the same as it is at the moment with regard to the things that have happened, the things that we're seeing unfold in the housing building sphere. But I got to be honest with you, I'm having a hard time at this point in time understanding what that would even potentially look like. So, I mean, we have a huge amount of pressure on our property tax base. And part of the pressure that we're seeing on the property tax base is due to pressure on things like knocking off DCs to build affordable housing, right? And so I'm just afraid that if we're going to be doing all the things we're doing, some of which we volunteered to do, some of which we were told to do, and we add the extra levy on the property tax, I don't see how that's going to work. And so are other municipalities doing anything like that?
Okay, thank you for the question. I do not have the answer off the top of my head as to if other municipalities are doing it, but I certainly hear what you're saying. And in terms of a staff work plan and intentions around bringing forward recommendations to use property tax and apply a levy, this remains as an action not started amongst a handful of other financial actions that, to your point, I think in 2020, 21, they were put on there. These are potential tools. Are they feasible tools? Right. Are they realistic tools? I think that's all part of the work that remains when we're looking at these actions that sort of remain to be undertaken. Is they've got to be undertaken with a lens of the here and now in consideration of all that's changed in 5 years. And then at that time, staff will come forward with some sort of approach as to how we might say it's done, it's not implemented, so to speak, right?
Okay, so given that this is a committee and we're really just here to discuss and seek input, my suggestion, and I don't need to formalize this, but my comment would be, if this is not a viable option, given what we now know, I mean, you said this was put back in 2021. I mean, 2021 was a lifetime ago with regard to the situation that we're in right now. I would suggest that we take it, consider if it's actually as unviable as I suspect that it is, and other municipalities aren't doing it, I almost wonder whether we should take it off the work plan. And then the next item that I want to talk about, in the last one, is the vacant homes tax. Like, we've talked about that at the region, and the administration of that program is quite challenging, and I'm still not convinced that it would actually move the ball forward in Richmond Hill. I get the concept, and I get that, I initially thought that this was an option that would really help. I'm not any more convinced of that. So, I mean, all I would say for the purposes of this meeting is that, if staff can take a look at that and see, like, there's no point in leaving things on there that are really not viable. And if that is the conclusion that staff comes up to, and I'm not going to dictate that at this point in time, but if that's the conclusion, then I would suggest that we start, concentrating more on the things that we know are working and that we have realistic chance of success, and keep, clean up the list to get things off that aren't going to be, viable options. So anyway, those would be my comments. Mike, I see your hand up, so if you want to go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Ashley. First of all, Ashley, I would support the mayor's consideration about removing the levy on taxes. I think that's a smart move. A lot of the DC waiver was mandated by the province, and that puts municipalities under exceeding strain. So I would support that. Secondly, we've been talking about build and York Region's response. I know my project was approached for build in Markham. were any projects approached in Richmond Hill by the region to be included in that large collective action that they were supporting? Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Ashley?
Thank you for the question, Mike. So I was not directly consulted by York Region on this. So this is this may not be the space for the conversation. But I will say that I'm pleased to understand that that was something that the region was doing. It makes sense. But I can't give you a definitive yes or no. Yeah, I wasn't at the table for those conversations.
Okay, thank you. And Christopher, I see your hand for a second round. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to chime in on the property tax lever. Um, uh, just a different perspective. I think, and Ashley, maybe you can confirm, I believe that, to continue the CIP capital funding availability was relying on the HAF program. And unless there's a consideration where that's renewed, Ashley, stop me if I'm incorrect, but I think I'm on the right track. That there's no more capital funding available or outlined in the program. So, I would view the capital or the property tax levy as the kind of one opportunity to generate funding for that, to continue that program. I fully appreciate the impact it has on property tax payers, and that, municipal budgets are being upended, it feels like, each year with different changes in policy. But so it may not be the right moment in time now, but it may be later, an opportunity and a tool that could be used to continue funding programs like the CIP and the projects that were outlined.
No, thank you, Christopher. I appreciate the comment. Okay, I don't think we have any other comments at this time. I don't see any other hands. So we have a motion before us to receive the presentation and, oh, sorry, Cheryl, go ahead.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I just want to go back to Kathleen's original comment and amendment to the minutes. And I just wanted to know, I know in your presentation you said you've identified the underused and surplus land. When will we have a list or a map of these potential sites? Do you know?
Go ahead, Ashley.
Thank you. Through the chair, Cheryl. So we undertook that analysis and established that inventory. There was never an intention to make that inventory list public facing. And so that list exists internally and remains internal. I did follow up with Kathleen pursuant to the last meeting to talk about a couple of those parcels. I think at this point in time, those parcels that Kathleen referenced are not necessarily on our formal list because they didn't meet one or more of the initial criteria. Notwithstanding, as I mentioned earlier, there may be a point in time at the future that we're revisiting what that criteria looks like. And I think as well, there is an opportunity as the concierge program is up and running, and there's an increasing amount of shared information and dialogue. What ideally we'll be looking to do is understanding the needs of the organizations within the city who have the will and the expertise to want to deliver some of these projects, but they don't have the land, and doing it almost in reverse to how we've approached it to this point, which is what lands do we have, and working it that way. I think now through the concierge program, there's an opportunity to almost expand on that original thinking in terms of how we use surplus lands to find out who's out there that's looking to deliver, and then how do we best align, whether it's us or other partners, with those groups.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we've actually kind of exhausted our speakers list, although I don't think Kathleen has spoken twice. So if you want to go ahead, Kathleen, you can. You have the last word. Go ahead.
I just very quickly want to say that myself and two other people who are unnamed did do our informal survey, and we found 3 parcels of land on leafy lots that are quite central. One was a double lot, and the other 2, I think, were large lots where you could put a large group home on. I just want to say that we did that, and I just want you to know that information. Thank you.
Okay, I would suggest, Kathleen, if you haven't already, you should connect with Ashley. We have to be a little bit careful about talking about property in an open session, but there's certainly that's certainly part of something that we can do as committee members, is to keep our eyes and ears open and then report to those findings. So I would encourage you to do that. That would be great. Okay, so we have a motion then on the floor to receive all the comments, refer them back to staff, and receive the presentation with thanks. All those in favor? Opposed? That looks like that carries. Thank you very much. No, that's Mike. That's Mike's voting hand. Mike does a voting hand, and then he has a question hand. They're very different. So, okay. The last item on the agenda is 6.2, and it's the proposed Affordable Housing Strategy Implementation Committee meeting schedule. We need a motion to move that the proposed schedule be approved. We need somebody that wants to do that. Don't be chicken, don't be shy. Regional Local Councillor DePaulo. So any discussion on that? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And then the last and most exciting motion, this is the one you really have to dig deep for, is the motion to adjourn. And Christopher, you look like you just want to adjourn, and there you go. All right, there's the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries unanimously. Thank you very much, everybody that's on the committee. We certainly appreciate the discussion and your time that you're spending with us to move this item forward. So thanks very much.